Okay, so what I want to do is I want to talk about siblings in mythology. The siblings that I chose actually have to do with a name that is centered around a movie that was released last year. So I figured that this name people would know, and so Tron Ares was released last year. And so, yeah, we are going to look at Ares and Athena. Okay. All right. So we're going to look at Ares first. All right. I really think that people need to start looking at the actual mythology when it comes to Ares before actually using the name. Yeah, he's the god of war, but as you will see, to be quite honest, the hate that the movie Tron Ares got, yeah, you'll see what. Now, I did some research because, I know that Jared Leto is a big old method actor. I think he's probably the biggest method actor. Because mainly what I wanted to know is why they decided to use the name Ares for Tron Ares. And actually, a little side note here, it was originally titled Tron Ascension. Okay, look, I love the original movie Tron, the 1982 movie. I enjoyed the second one, and I wasn't really hooked on this one. Nothing about it said, "Come see me," And I make fun of Jared Leto here on the channel, but it wasn't him. There just really wasn't anything that told me to see this movie. But so yeah, it was originally called Tron Ascension, and then it got a big old facelift, and they decided to change it to Tron Ares. So I was curious if it had anything to do with the God of War, but I didn't see anything. However, I did see this where it says Jared Leto spent the entire shoot in character as Ares, not speaking to anyone unless necessary, and having everyone refer to him as such. Jeff Bridges was the only one who didn't follow this rule, reasoning that since his character, Kevin Flynn, is the creator of the grid, he's therefore above Ares and could call him whatever he wanted. Well, he's not wrong. Okay. As we will see, I'm going to poke a lot of fun at Jared Leto on this one. I understand that it's the character, okay? And again, I haven't seen this movie, but this is where his method acting kind of falls apart. All right. Look, he makes the money, I don't. So whatever. But I can still make fun of him. Okay. Dude's like 10 years older than me, so whatever. So when it comes to Aries, because we're going to look at him first. Now, I first want to look at, because I always talk about how I have these textbooks and I never use them. Now, first, I have Bullfinch's Mythology. Now, I have Bullfinch's mythology and Edith Hamilton's mythology. When it comes to Bullfinch's mythology and Edith Hamilton's mythology, I highly recommend picking them up. I will have the information in the description box. So, just as reference in case you're interested. Uh, Bullfinch's mythology mainly has because he looks at like Greek and Roman mythology, some Egyptian, some Norse mythology, I'm sorry. Mainly he was into Arthurian legend. So yeah, it's like half mythology and then Arthurian legend. So if you're really into that, he's a good one to pick up. Okay. And I've said it before on this channel. And so I will elaborate again. I had these when I was in high school. I took a Myth and Legends class, and for the life of me, I couldn't find my little paperback books. And I gave up the search. So I got these big books and they're nice. They're really nice. So if you have the money, pick him up. But again, he does mention Athena. I couldn't find Ares so much. I mean, he's got the stories of Cupid and Psyche and a lot of those. With Athena, it's mainly the Iliad and the Odyssey and that kind of thing. But again, worth picking up if you look for books on this subject. So, yeah. Now, Edith Hamilton, uh, she, I love her. I did a video. I'll probably do it again. I've heard your complaints on that video, so yes, I will probably do it again, um, when I have time. Now, I live by this book. I absolutely love it, and she has stuff to say about Ares, so let's listen to what she has to say. Okay, the god of war, son of Zeus and Hera, both of whom Homer says detested him. That's an understatement, as we will find out later. So, indeed, he is hateful throughout the Iliad, poem of war though it is. Occasionally, the heroes rejoice in the delight of Ares' battle, but far oftener in having escaped the fury of the ruthless god. Homer calls him murderous, blood-stained, the incarnate curse of mortals, and strangely, a coward too, who bellows in pain and runs away when he is wounded. Yeah, he does that. We'll talk more about that. Yet he has a train of attendants on the battlefield, which should inspire anyone with confidence. His sister is there, Eris, Eris, which means discord, and strife, her son. The goddess of war, Enyo, in Latin Bellona, walks beside him, and with her are terror and trembling and panic. Now, if you've seen the Disney movie, the animated movie Hercules, Panic, I believe, is one of the minions for Hades. I don't remember the other one. It might, I don't think it's trembling, but it might be terror. So, again, the goddess of war, Enyo, is walking beside Ares, and with her are terror, trembling, and panic. As they move, the voice of groaning arises behind them, and the earth streams with blood. In a nutshell, when it comes to Ares, he is the god of war, but he is full of bloodlust. And I mean, he's full of savagery, absolute savagery. And you would think, well, that's pretty badass. Uh, well, hold that thought. So his counterpart, his Roman counterpart is Mars, who is also, he's the god of war and agriculture. Okay, so the Romans liked Mars better than the Greeks liked Ares. He never was to them the mean, whining deity of the Iliad. Right. But magnificent in shining armor, redoubtable, invincible. Right. And I mean that. I'm agreeing with Edith here. The warriors of the great Latin heroic poem, the Aeneid, far from rejoicing to escape from him, rejoice when they see that they are to fall on Mars' field of renown. They rush on glorious death and find it sweet to die in battle. Yeah, they basically the Romans would die for Mars. But but for I mean, honestly, pretty much you've lost the war when your own parents, Zeus and Hera, hate you. You know, Ares figures little in mythology. In one story, he is the lover of Aphrodite. No, he's a lot the lover of Aphrodite. I think this was written in the 30s. I'll double check on that. Um, he he and Aphrodite couldn't keep their hands off each other, and so they made a lot of kids. Okay. And so, the lover of Aphrodite and held up to the contempt of the Olympians by Aphrodite's husband, Hephaestus. We'll get to that. But for the most part, he is little more than a symbol of war. Yeah. He is not a distinct personality like Hermes or Hera or Apollo or even his sister Athena. No. He had no cities where he was worshipped. The Greeks said vaguely that he came from Thrace. And yeah, that was pretty much it. But again, this was written in like the 30s. Again, I'll double check that. And they have found more. So, and we'll look at that right after I'm done with this. Appropriately, his bird was the vulture. The dog was wronged by being chosen as his animal. Well, she's not wrong there. And Edith being a little savage there. Again, I highly recommend these books. I'll put the information in the description box for you. Um, Now, when it comes to Ares, let's. All right. So, the Greek god of war, brother of Athena, and for some reason, everybody wants to name their business after it, their product after him. You know, even Tron Ares. Well, the movie got a lot of hate, and kind of symbolic. I'm not into all that stuff. I know that in the ancient world, everything was symbolic, and you centered everything around your deities and all that stuff. It's just funny to me, because it's like, well, look what you did. You should have kept it at the first one, yeah. Okay, so yes, Greek god of war. He is one of the 12 Olympians, son of Zeus and Hera. Again, they don't like him. They absolutely hate him. Many of the Greeks hated him. I mean, when the Pantheon, Olymp Olympus did not like him at all. They loathed him, and the mortals didn't like him at all. Okay. So he embodies the physical valor necessary for success in war, but can also personify sheer brutality and bloodlust. Yeah, I mean, he's more of he personifies the, like I said, the savagery of it. And it says here, in contrast to his sister Athena, who basically is the military strategy. She's like the general and could strategize battle. He just goes in guns blazing. He's just that's that's all he does. He just tears down everybody. It's like if he sees an enemy, he's gonna take it down. You know, that's all he does. But the problem, yeah, like it says here, an association with Aries is a savage, dangerous, or militarized quality. Okay. Now, like it said with Edith Hamilton, the location. Now, I'm sure that there were Greeks that he doesn't really have a cult. Okay. But I'm sure that there were Greeks that worshipped him because of, maybe warriors worshipped him so they could go in and everything like that. So, not disputing that at all. No. But as for, because Athena had temples to her and all this, he didn't have that. He's not special enough because he's a dummy. He's an absolute. So it says here, although Ares' name shows his origins as Mycenaean, his reputation for savagery was thought by some to reflect his likely origin as in Thrace. He's a Thrace deity, just like Edith said. Okay. However, uh, the Spartans loved him. Sparta, I mean, and that's the thing is that because of Sparta and the way that they were, it makes sense. When I read that, I was like, well, yeah, they're a perfect fit. Of course, they're gonna love his how he is. However, it says that the later belief that ancient Spartans had offered human sacrifices to Ares may owe more to mythical prehistory, misunderstandings, and reputation. Okay, I really don't. I think a lot of these, because they also were trying to say, I saw where a lot of scholars, there were even like, okay, because I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm not making sense. So with these historians and scholars and that kind of thing, And there were documentaries in the 90s that were giving the idea of these virgin sacrifices. They have latched onto that for as long as I can remember. Okay, these virgin sacrifices to like Athena and Artemis and several other of these virgin goddesses and that kind of thing. And um, I'm sure they had these virgin temples, but that doesn't mean that they were having virgin sacrifices. That doesn't make any sense, really. Did it happen? Probably. But I'm just gonna say this right now. At festivals, I'm sure that they got pretty shit-faced drunk and lost themselves and did things, and it was like, oh, but it had nothing to do with their religion or anything like that. It's, you know, uh, teenagers do that all the time where they, um, uh, gosh, I can't think of the word, where they dare. The whole truth or dare thing. Yeah, where they dare each other. They're drinking like crazy and they dare each other. I'm sure that that happened back then too. It had nothing to do with the religion itself. It was just, hey, you want to make this God angry? Let's see if he smites us. What are you, stupid? What are you, a coward? I'm not a coward. I'll do it. Yeah. So so this whole thing about offering humans, I mean, the Spartans were just full of savagery anyway. They whatever. But the idea that they were giving human sacrifices to Ares, I like I said, I think it was just one of those that, you know, lost themselves, it was Saturday night, getting all crazy, and something happened. You know? Let's say that it was for Ares. That's what happened. It'll make it look less of a problem. Okay. Because actually, it turns out that this was something that was found quite a bit is gods were immortal, but these are for chained statues. Okay, there were a lot of these that were found all over the place. And so gods were immortal, but could be bound and restrained both in mythic narrative and in cult practice. So there was a Spartan statue of Ares in chains in this particular temple, which someone claims meant that the spirit of war and victory was to be kept in it, so they were keeping him hostage, basically. That's basically what they're doing. It's like, no, you are with us now. Your your spirit is here with us. And they also had bound images of other deities like Aphrodite, which Aphrodite makes sense because if they're lovers, and in some cases, it could be in certain cults, maybe in Sparta, she's considered his spouse, um, which we all know that Hephaestus is her spouse. And I have seen in certain places where, so I don't know if it's Sparta just wanting Aphrodite, they're shipping Aphrodite and Ares. Ancient shippers, that's what it is. That's it. I wouldn't doubt it. And because I've seen in certain areas where certain cultures, when they come in, they or invade or whatever, they're trying to understand the culture that they just invaded. Okay, so they may have heard about the certain part where Ares and Aphrodite are together and they have these children, so they just figure that they're married. You know, who's this Hephaestus guy? Why is who does he think he is? So so I would believe that. I would believe that that's what happened. And And so that's basically what chained statues were known for, and mainly in Sparta. I didn't see where it was in anywhere else. Now, as for his cults, as I was saying, with the location and everything, and then we'll move on. There were a few cities in Greece and several in Asia Minor. held annual festivals to bind and detain him, like it was saying with the chain, and for him to be their protector. It's like I said before, I'm pretty sure that there were people such as soldiers and maybe soldier communities of war type communities like Sparta that decided to worship him. And so, but for the most part, he really was not, yeah, because like I said, moving on from that, although there were many literary allusions to Ares' love affairs and children, his main squeeze was, of course, Aphrodite, but he did have other kids. Phobos and Deimos, I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly. Actually, those two, I believe, are, oh, let's go to Deimos. Okay, so the namesake, it says in 1877, the American astronomer Asaph Hall discovered two satellites of the planet Mars and named the two moons Phobos and Deimos. So, yeah, kind of mixed up the Roman and Greek, I think. You also have, I'm not going to name all of the kids for um, Aries. I think Phobos is and Deimos are, yeah, Aries and Aphrodite, and as well as Phobos. Harmonia is, yeah, the goddess of harmony. Does it say who her? Some of these they don't want to say who the dad is. I mean, who the mom is. Aries and Aphrodite. And in some cases, it'll say Zeus and Electra. Um, Thrax. I feel sorry for Thrax because I've looked everywhere, and in all my books and everything, it never says who his mom is. It's like he just appeared, he just materialized, and it's almost like he just he saw he saw Ares in some way, shape. He's like, yeah, I want you to be my dad. It's like you picked the wrong fella. And then, of course, the Amazons. Now, in the case of the Amazon Queen, and I also saw where Harmonia, but I'm not, I don't think the person who did that, yeah, no, Ares and the Amazon Queen created the Amazons. I'm not sure where that person got the idea that it was Harmonia, because Harmonia is his daughter. There's not a lot of incest that happens and that would just, yeah. Uh-huh. I would believe that more with Egyptian mythology, not so much in Greek. Yeah. Um, but anyway, now, so with that out of the way, with his kids and his love affairs, basically Aphrodite and then the Amazon Queen, he knows how to pick them. We'll give him that. He's look, he's got the hot god bod, and so Aphrodite. Okay, I should have said this before. When I talk about the Greek mythology, basically it's high school drama. And so in the case of Ares, he's like the jock. Okay, the popular jock. Well, not so popular jock actually. He's just a jock. Okay, and when you see statues of him, he's a good-looking guy with the hot god bod. So obviously, and then of course Aphrodite is the popular girl, the popular pretty girl, prom queen. Yeah. And so as we go through this, I will be using that metaphor. Okay. It's really, it is. It's just one big high school drama. It's- When you look at Romans, the Roman mythology is actually, they're all chill. They're not as dramatic, you know? There's like two of them that have the same name. Apollo still has his name, and it seems like there's one other one. And it's like, yeah, Apollo's still there. He's in poetry class doing his thing and everything. So, okay. So, but yeah, he's with him being the jock, going around doing his sports thing. Uh, he knows how to pick his girls. I mean, the Amazon Queen and Aphrodite, and seems like there was one more. But yeah, main squeeze is Aphrodite because most of his kids, except for Thrax, nobody knows. Nobody knows who his mom is. Because I've looked. I tried to find it before I sat down to do this. Poor Thrax. Feel sorry for Thrax. Justice for Thrax. Actually, I forgot what he was. Let's look really quick. He was regarded as one of the reputed sons of Ares. Uh, Euripides mentions that one of the names of Ares himself was Thrax, since he was regarded as the patron of Thrace. His golden or gilded shield was kept in his temple at Bastonia in Thrace. Okay, maybe it's his shield. His shield is his child. Well, anyway. All right. So aside from all that, he has limited role in Greek mythology. Edith Hamilton mentioned that. When he does appear, he is often humiliated. Yeah. I'm telling you, the this is a rarity. Okay, this is an absolute rarity because very rarely do you see where the gods hate a fellow god. Now, with Loki, he's a trickster, and yeah, they get frustrated with him. It's, but it's like, sure, they get frustrated with him and everything, but with this, it's like they're like, you dumbass. They don't do that with Loki. Okay, he finally does end up with that fate that he does, where the snake is over him with the poison and everything. Basically, like what Prometheus gets. Prometheus is just a titan. I've seen where people try to make him a god, and it's like, no, he's not a god. He's just a patron. Yeah, he's a titan. I'm sorry, he's just a titan. Most of what I have read is just that he is just a titan. That that is far too clever for his own good. Look, I am a fangirl for Prometheus. I think Prometheus is better than Loki. I said it and I will not take it back. I will do a video for Prometheus. Anyway, so yes, this is a rarity where you see where the gods, I mean, even in Egyptian mythology, so with Set, with the shit that he pulled, and I talked about it in that vampire video for those of you that saw it, where yeah, he did all that shit, but he um but they didn't kick him out. No, he got redemption. He was so, but in this case with Ares, his parents hate him, and it just I really do think that with Aphrodite, the reason she has Adonis is because there are times where she just I think that he's just eye candy. I think that with Ares, he's just eye candy. I mean, look, I'm a woman and I see it and it's like, yeah, he's hot. Okay. I see it. I see what Aphrodite saw in him. Okay. But, but when you're dealing with a dumbass, there's only so much you can take. Okay, so I can see why she went over to Adonis. Poor Ares. As you will see. Okay. So here's some of the ways that he was humiliated. All right. So if you have read the Iliad and the Iliad anyway, because I don't think he shows up. I don't remember him showing up in the Odyssey. No, I think that was mainly Athena. So in the Iliad, there's the Trojan War, and Aphrodite, protector of Troy, persuades Ares to take the Trojan side, and the Trojans lose. Now, I do have something here, and it says he always took the side of Aphrodite in the Trojan War. He fought for Hector, a Trojan, until a Greek warrior, Achilles, pierced him with a spear that was guided by Athena. See, she didn't care. She thought, she's like, you see that guy? See that little dumbass? See that little shit? Shoot him. Okay. He then departed the battlefield in order to complain to Zeus about Athena's violence. He's a little snitch. He's- Okay. Here's the thing is, okay, Athena is considered Zeus's favorite, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about her. So to go and when you're hated by your own parents, with Zeus and Hera just don't like him at all. And he goes over there and he's like, I got a boo-boo, and by the way, look what she's doing. Zeus is like, yeah, it's war, you dummy. What do you shouldn't have thought with your dick. What is your girlfriend has your nuts in a vice. What do you want me to do? Real. Oh man. Honestly. It's, oh man. What did he think was going to happen? You know, and like Edith Hamilton said, is so basically when he gets wounded, he runs off the battlefield and cries like a coward. He is. He's basically a coward. Just- oh my gosh. Yeah, runs off the battlefield. This is your god of war. So Jared Leto spent the entire shooting character as Ares. Now, again, I understand that it's the character from the movie, but it still makes me laugh. Next time somebody says that they want to name a product after Ares, well, he's the god of war. Yeah, hold up. Okay, I think you need to read up on the actual mythology because you know that somebody's going to bring that shit up. All right. We're gonna look stupid. Oh my gosh. Oh my heavens. Man. And seriously, I was trying to think of what other deity. I mean, even Prometheus, there, because Prometheus was one of those that, again, he's a Titan, he's an immortal, and he would give such shit to Zeus. Zeus couldn't stand it. You know, Prometheus was one of those that he had a soft spot for uh for mortals and humanity. Okay, so he did a lot of stuff for mortality. There was a moment where, well, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'll go ahead and say it because I already am. But the thing is that there was a moment where Zeus just wanted to wipe out the human race. Okay, and I don't remember why. I'll have to find the story, but the fact of the matter is that he was just he was pissed off. He usually was. He was pissed off at the human race for one reason or another. And Prometheus is, sitting there and he's like, "Yeah, but if you do that, who's going to give you all those tributes and the sacrifices and the festivals and all that? If you do that, who's going to give you all those all those things. I mean, he was like 5 steps ahead of Zeus. Zeus mouth, he's like, I'm gonna destroy them all. And he's like, yeah, but and Zeus hated that because every time it made him look stupid in front of all the other gods. You know, but he put up with it until that stealing of and there's more to it. I'll make the video on Prometheus. But in this case, I mean, they put up with demons stealing babies and tearing up babies and tearing up pregnant women and all of this stuff. And which is interesting because you had women who, I mean, you had these goddesses that were supposed to be protecting women, and then you had the demons that were there and all this. I guess it's a good versus evil kind of thing, yeah, now that I think about it. But this guy, Ares, poor Ares, is hated by all the gods. He's hated by mortals. He's barely recognized. And when he does show up, he's humiliated. And it turns out that the affair between him and Aphrodite was like an open secret. Everybody knew about it. And that's why they hated him so much. Because, okay, Aphrodite, again, popular girl, popular pretty girl. Now, Hephaestus was like the kid that was always in shop class. Okay. And he was a deformed god. He had a club foot. And this the main story, there's like two or three different versions of the story, but the main version is that Hera and Zeus got upset about because they're always fighting. They always are. They're fighting about something, and he grabs Hephaestus and throws him out of Mount Olympus. And when Hephaestus landed, that's how he became deformed. Okay. Well, then the gods thought that it would be funny to marry off the most beautiful goddess and the ugly god together, weekend in Vegas. Um, well, okay. So so she's having affairs right and left. And Adonis and Ares being the most obvious. Well, he was having affairs too. So here's the funny thing. Okay, the story that just cracks me up the most is okay. I don't remember what god it was, but decided to maybe it was Hermes because of course he's a messenger god and he goes the hall monitor. We'll call him the hall monitor. Okay, so he goes and he goes over to shop class to tell Hephaestus that Aphrodite and Ares are having sex under the bleachers. Well, Hephaestus is so pissed off, which I don't know why, because again, he's having affairs, and in one case he tried with Athena, so we'll get to that. And I think it's a case of it's okay for you to do it, but when you find out that your girlfriend or boyfriend is doing it, then it's a problem. It's like, no, you're not supposed to do that to me. It's thrilling for me to do it, but no, you're not. What the hell? It's like, no, that's not how it works. Because I see it happen all the time. Anyway, all right. Cheating is bad. Stop it. All right. Damn. Anyway, so what Hephaestus decides to do is he decides to build this really tight net. Okay. Because again, he's a god of foraging. I forgot to forging, not foraging, forging. All right, because he makes all the weapons and that kind of thing. Okay, metal working. That's why I said shop class. So he makes this really tight net. Okay, and he finds Ares and Aphrodite in the middle of coitus, and he uh traps them in the net. They can't get out, and he exposes them to everybody, to all the gods. Now, at first, you think that because he's saying, "Look, look, look what they're doing. They're having an affair. Look what." And at first you think that it's backfired because, of course, Dionysus, the school drunk, is like, wow, Ares has a hot body and he's got a nice little piece of ass with him. So, and so at first they're laughing, and you think, oh, well, this totally backfired on Hephaestus because, of course, they're thinking, oh, yeah, these are two beautiful people. And, what, so it's, but then they start looking, and of course, Ares, the god of war, can't get out of a net. And Aphrodite is yelling at him, being like, can't you do something? Get us, you're supposed to be the god of war. So she's yelling at him, and he can't get out. He's, and that's, this, so this net, it's not magical or anything. No, it's just very tight. And so it has binded them in here. Yeah, they can't get out. And that's when the mocking starts. So the gods are making fun of these two because they can't get out. And so the two are humiliated. And so, of course, Aphrodite is mad at Ares. And so then she goes off to Adonis for a while. She's, I'm so done with your hot ass. I just can't handle it right now. So yeah, oh, there we go. I had a hair in my mouth. So that's one of the more famous stories of Hephaestus going after Ares. Hephaestus absolutely hated this guy, and it's you were having affairs too, really. I mean, but they all hated this guy. I mean, they all hated Ares, and except for Aphrodite, she she enjoyed using him, especially in war. And of course, at the same time, I think, again, I think that he was just eye candy for her because she also had Adonis. So, so pretty much at the end of the day, when it comes to Ares, um, he's not liked. He was hated by mortals and the gods. His parents hated him. He was, I mean, he was absolute. The Spartans loved him. When it came to the god of war, basically he was an absolute war machine. He would tear down everybody, but then when he got his own injuries, he would run off. And like it said here when it talked about him, oh, I scrolled up. Oh, let's see, where was it? He fought for Hector until a Greek warrior Achilles pierced him with a spear, and then he departed the battlefield. Yeah, he was always running off the battlefield anytime something happened to him. So, and then he was a little snitch. He was a little bitch boy. So, that's Ares. But again, he found love with Sparta. Sparta loved him. And I'm sure, I will say again that some of the Greeks did worship him. There were some festivals here and there for him and everything, but when Tron Ares came out and the hate came in, this is why I had to laugh because it was like, oh man, history repeats. Yeah, poor Ares. And look, I will say it again. Reading this whole thing about how Jared Leto stayed in character. I know it's the character for the movie, but come on, man. Like, I'm sorry, I got to see it the way it is. I'm not hating on Jared Leto. No. I know that he's a method actor and that's what he does, okay? All right. Anyway, so let's move on and let's look at Athena. Okay, now that we have poked fun at Ares, we've made fun of him and everything. Poor dude. Let's look at his sister, Athena. Okay, now she is the goddess of war. She is, well, she's associated with wisdom, warfare, and handicraft. Spinning and weaving are the main ones. And her Roman counterpart is Minerva. Okay. And it says that Athena was regarded as the patron and protectress of various cities across Greece, particularly the city of Athens. And her major symbols include owls, olive trees, snakes, and the Gorgonian. And in art, she's generally depicted wearing a helmet and holding a spear. Yeah, in a lot of the statues, unlike her brother, yeah, her brother bears all. I mean, he's stark naked, he's showing off, for all the world to see. And it's like, look at this. Look what I got. Okay. But her, on the other hand, she's a little more modest. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure she's like, well, that's why people hate you. It's because oh, nobody wants to see that, brother. Actually, I don't mind. Now, in this book, it's called Goddesses, Myth, and Story. Again, I will have this all in the description box for you in case you're interested. I don't know if this one, I mean, I'll tell you how long ago it was. Borders was still open. Okay. I've had it for a while. I don't know if it is still in print, but I will still put it in the description box. Okay. So, um, what it has to say about Athena, and I will also read what it says about um, her challenge against, she went up against Poseidon. So we're going to hear that myth. Okay, so a goddess of supreme intelligence, Athena was one of the most complex and revered goddesses of the ancient Greeks. She was worshipped as the protectress of Athens, the Virgin Queen, whose temple at the Parthenon stands above the city. Yeah, I think there were three virgin goddesses also. I think Artemis is another one, and I, for the life of me, can't remember, but I will look it up and uh, I'm sure it'll say here. So I will hold back on that. But I do remember Artemis. Um, Known to the Romans as Minerva, Athena was patroness of the arts and artisans, smiths, potters, spinners, and weavers. One thing I want to say before I forget it is that in the Odyssey, okay, Penelope, when she is um the way that she tricks the suitors is she spins and she weaves that tapestry and she says, I will make my choice when I am done with this tapestry. And of course, at night she pulls the stitches out. And the main deity that is helping throughout the whole thing is, of course, Athena. And I firmly believe that Homer was connecting that. That was a huge symbolism there with that. I have always said that Penelope, I think, is one of the smartest women in classic literature. And so the fact that she has that intelligence is connected to Athena and all that. So I just wanted to mention that before I forget. She was always a civilizing influence who stood against the more unruly of the gods, such as Hermes and Poseidon. Descended from the Titans, the oldest of the Greek gods who ruled before the Olympians were established as the new gods by Zeus. Athena has ancient wisdom in her heritage, attended by an owl, the wisest bird, and snakes, which connected her to the earth wisdom. Athena blended the old goddess and the new intelligence in Greek mythology. She was the mistress of weaving, and her ability to interweave the threads of life is a quality which always belongs to the greatest of goddesses. Okay, and then let's see, where is her story? All right, right here. So this is a story where she and Poseidon uh, went against each other. Okay, so Poseidon, Lord of the Seas, battled with her for supremacy. for memories ran deep inside him of the times long ago when goddesses had also held power in the great and mysterious deeps. At one time, Poseidon disputed with Athena over which of them should give their names to the great city of Greece. The gods stated that whichever of the two could present the most useful gift to the inhabitants of the earth would win the contest. Poseidon offered first the great and changeable sea. Athena observed quietly, the sea will not be of much use to the people of my city, though in time they will rule the seas as my ancestors, the Cretans, once did. Well, this made Poseidon upset. No people will ever rule me, for I am mightier than all. Take this gift as well, then. And he struck the earth with his trident. Galloping from the opened earth came a magnificent horse, wild and beautiful to see. Athena looked on with a calm, untroubled expression, listening within to her guiding voice. Standing tall, she struck the earth with her sword, sending her owl screeching high above her head. Where she had touched, the earth broke apart, and green shoots appeared. As the gods looked on, a beautiful tree with gray-green leaves began to grow until all stood in its shade. Its trunk was strong and gnarled, and from its branches hung fruit, growing from green to ripe purple-black. Athena's sacred snakes hissed joyfully and twirled around the strong trunk. Her owl perched in the full branches and blinked. This is the first olive tree, Athena said. It may be harvested for its fruit and for its oil. My people may use it for cooking, for preserving, for burning in their lamps at night, and for anointing their bodies that they may feel supple and smooth. She raised her hand in tribute to the tree, sprung from the scant earth of Attica, saying, the olive tree shall henceforward be sacred to me. The gods unanimously voted that Athena's gift was the more useful, and its branches, once offered, became the symbol of peacemaking. The horse, on the other hand, while useful, was more associated with war. Poseidon retreated to the sea, lashing the waves into an enraged frenzy, for he knew he was beaten. And so, yeah, that's. Now, another thing I want to point out is, well, first I want to say that because I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm sorry. So, as it says here in Greek mythology, Athena was born from the forehead of her father Zeus. Uh, this occurred after Zeus swallowed his consort Metis or Metis. I don't remember. I don't. Uh, so while she was pregnant with Athena, and the reason that he did that, so Zeus swallowed Metis while she was pregnant because there was a prophecy and saying that there was going to be a child that was going to be more powerful than him. Yeah, because there's usually an oracle or a prophecy of some kind, kind of like Oedipus Rex and all that. Yeah. And so Zeus, yeah, and also Cronus. That's why Cronus ate his kids. Yeah. And always, always. So Zeus decided to swallow while she was pregnant, and she was pregnant with Athena, and she Athena sprung from his forehead. Now, I want to make something clear here because when I was in my myth and legends class, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, so I had this myth and legends class, and the teacher stated that springing from his forehead made Athena intelligent because, of course, coming from the brain. And, at first, of course, the entire class was like, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, well, now that I have done more research on ancient history and, of course, looked more at Aristotle's writings and that kind of thing, lately there are scientists and historians and scholars who are looking at Aristotle's writings and especially the biology side of it, the anatomy portion of it, and they're questioning his writings. What are you, stupid? Everything else still holds up today. What he said about plants, what he said about animals, what he said about politics, what he said about theater, what he said about all of those writings still hold true. But for some reason, they're looking at what he said about anatomy, and they can't put themselves into the ancient world. Okay, because especially, excuse me, with some things that he said about um certain aspects of like the mind and the all of that, you have to understand that when it comes to the brain was useless. Okay, in the ancient world, that's why the ancient Egyptians removed it and threw it away. There wasn't a canopic jar for the brain. It was nothing. It had no purpose to anything. However, they had a canopic jar for other things that served a purpose. Okay, they they removed it and they would because there was a weighing of the heart, so they had to have the heart. And so in the ancient world, and reading up on a lot of other things, you have to understand that people were still learning about the body and how it worked. It's not like it just suddenly came to them. They did not have the science that we have now, fully understanding the brain. No, it did not all of a sudden come to, and they were still um a lot of things that like with Aristotle and that was symbolism. You know, they thought that the heart was the center of thinking and learning and yeah. So basically the brain to them was the heart. The brain, this up here was just kind of like the appendix to them. Not even kidding. It meant nothing. That's why they removed it and just I mean, if it really meant something, in ancient Egypt, they would have given it a canopic jar, but no, they just threw it out. Now, like with Prometheus, when that bird is chewing out his liver, there's a reason for that. There's symbolism there because to the ancient Greeks, the liver was considered the root of all feeling. So that's the ultimate torture is having Prometheus feel that every single day for eternity. Okay. For what he has done. And I mean, when you go through and you actually look at how the ancients saw the human body, it makes more sense. But no, they don't want to do that. They're looking at a modern look at it, and it's like, no, stop it. Okay? They centered their world around their mythology. Okay, and it was through fresh eyes. Now that we are so centered around, we have the science now, well, it makes more sense. Okay, we've evolved since 2000 BC. And so pretty much what I'm saying here is that um when it comes to her intelligence, I was trying to figure out where it would there has to be a symbolism here somewhere and I'm just missing it. Oh, it would be the because her I mean owls have always been known as smart. So that would be one thing. By the way, Aries is the vulture. I know Edith Hamilton said that, but I still find that funny. I'm pretty sure that they saw vultures picking at dead bodies and they're like, yeah, okay, Aries, that's it. And so that makes sense with the owl. But as for her come springing out, it would have been her springing out of his chest. That would make more sense because of how they looked at the human body. Okay. I mean, like another example would be Dr. Joanne Fletcher said that the ancient Egyptians saw that the womb was moving. They truly believed that a pregnant woman's womb was moving around and they had to calm it down. And so they would have a pregnant woman stand over incense and the incense had to go up through and into the body. I was telling my mom that. And she started laughing and she says, they saw the baby kicking. And that's what they saw. They didn't so much think of a baby being inside the belly. They just saw the kicking. They just saw little kicks and little bumps of the, and so I didn't even fit the pieces together on that. And so they saw that and it makes sense. And they just wanted to calm down the the womb. And so yeah, there, you look at those old medical things and how they would do things. Yeah, so but the brain meant nothing. Like I said, it was like the appendix to them. We can't understand why the appendix is even there. I'm sure they thought, well, why is this thing in there? And so what my teacher said 26 years ago, that she got her intelligence from, but owls have always been considered a very smart bird. So, but there has to be something else. There has to be some way, like within the mythology, and I'm just not catching on to it with her intelligence and everything. Uh, she got all of it. Her brother didn't. Now, if you heard, it says a Gorgonian. Okay, now she does have a dark side. You know, Homer actually, if you've read the Iliad and the Odyssey, just like when she had Achilles basically stab her brother, but that's more because nobody likes him. Okay, but as it turns out, she's a little more ruthless in the Iliad and the Odyssey. I mean, when you look at other, just like when I was reading the whole thing with Poseidon, she kind of sits back and she theorizes. She's like, well, yeah, the sea is there, but we're gonna have we're gonna take over, and it sets him off. He's like, no, you will never do that. She knew how to get him. She knew what she was doing, because he brought up something else. And but so again with the strategy, she's good at strategy and that kind of thing. In Iliad and the Odyssey, uh, she was a little more ruthless, almost like this is this is the ruthless god that we should have got with Ares, but no, he's a little bitch. He's he's whatever. And she's working overtime for what Ares should be. Well, whatever. It's whatever. And, but like I said, she has a darker side because when it comes to the story of Medusa, okay. I mean, for those of you that don't know the story of Medusa, of course, Medusa is the one that has this she's the Gorgon that has the snakes in her hair and everything. And oh, who is it? I always forget who it was that uh went after her. Perseus. So Perseus went after her. Well, okay. So originally she was a priestess in a temple, and Poseidon saw her, lusted after her, and assaulted her. Yeah, because they usually do that, which is not okay. Um, well, here's the thing, is that as the story goes, it was in Athena's temple, and Athena condemned Medusa, and she, um, and that's how, as the story keeps going, she basically became the Gorgon, and then uh, Hermes and Athena, sometimes it's just one or the other. Depending on the version that you hear, helped Perseus um to kill Medusa. And so yeah, it's a little dark, but but again, you have to put your mindset in ancient times. How could she do that? It's ancient times. Okay. Sorry, they were all at war. Okay, it's wartime. They were all in battle. Nobody cared. Okay. Um, Now, like I said before, Hephaestus was having all these affairs, so it really doesn't make sense why he was so mad that Aphrodite was with Ares. Maybe it was because Ares had that hot god bod and he didn't. It's like, I don't care that you're having affairs, but why him? He's everything I'm not. Damn it. You had to pick him of all people. Well, as it turns out, he did try to, he saw Athena and actually tried to assault Athena. I mean, he really lusted. He did the same thing that Poseidon did. He lusted after Athena, and first of all, she's the goddess of war. What is wrong with you? Did you really think you had a chance, buddy? So he tries to assault her, and she's like, "Get away from me." Well, the guy was so excited that he now follow me on this, okay? So he ejaculates on her thigh. She wipes it off with a piece of wool. So she wipes it off and she throws that on the ground. So his semen ends up on the ground. The ground, the earth being Gaia, okay, the mother goddess. And in so doing, Gaia becomes pregnant. Now, I kid you not. There are some who have actually, I don't know how they have twisted this or whatever, but somehow they have tried to say that Athena and Hephaestus are lovers. No, she rejected him. She said, "Get away from me." They did not have intercourse. Okay, I don't know how it no, he did have lovers, and technically, this is a stretch, but they're they're accepting it, okay? In the lore, in the folklore universe, they're accepting that Gaia is his lover because it turns out that a baby did in fact happen through all of this. Yes, she gave birth to a Gaia. What are you doing here? Okay, so it's a half man, half snake child. Yes, it's a halfling. Gaia, seriously, you couldn't just no, you had to get special with it. You had to get getting jiggy with it. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So to once again, Hephaestus lusted after Athena, figured he had a chance with her. He tried to assault her. She was rejecting him like crazy because she's like, "No, we're not doing that today. Not today, not ever." And he got so excited, again, ejaculated on her thigh. She wiped it off. The semen ended up on the earth, Mother Earth being Gaia. Gaia gave birth. Okay, we're good. Now, the child is half human, half snake, and its name is I think it's called Erichthonius. Okay, so Erichthonius became a king, legendary early ruler of ancient Athens. According to some myth, he was born of the soil and adopted or raised by goddess Athena. So yeah, she adopted him. Okay. Now, he's- here's okay. Now, so he's born. Now, Athena, wishing to raise the child in secret, placed him in a small box and made sure no one would ever find out by giving him away. Athena, that's not how it works. You don't put children in boxes. Okay, but she's a virgin, so she doesn't know what she's doing. She's a goddess of war, you know. She knows warfare and, you know. So she gave the box to three daughters, to three daughters of this king um of Attica, or the king of Athens, because it did change the name, and warned them never to look inside. One obeyed, but the other two, overcome with curiosity, opened the. I mean, this is Pandora's box, basically, you know. And, and so the open the box containing the infant and future king. And his name actually means it translates to troubles born from the earth. And the sisters were terrified by what they saw in the box, either a snake coil around an infant or an infant that was half human and half serpent. I have read where it was half human, half snake. Okay. And so either way, it wasn't Hercules holding the snake. Okay. If you know that story. Yeah, Hera tried to kill him with a poisonous snake, and it's fucking Hercules. It's whatever. Heracles, actually. Greek, it's Heracles. Roman, it's Hercules. So technically, the Disney movie, it's Roman because they used the wrong name. Okay, so when they saw this child, the two that saw the child, they went insane and threw themselves off the Acropolis. Other accounts say that the snake killed them. So the snake side killed them. Um, Alternate version recounts that Athena left the box with the daughters while she went to fetch limestone from the mountain of Pallene to use in the Acropolis. While she was away, the two girls opened the two sisters opened the box. A crow saw them open the box and flew away to tell Athena, who fell into a rage and dropped the mountain. She was so yeah, she's troublesome little thing, which became Mount Lycabettus. As in the first version, they went insane and threw themselves to their death off a cliff. And now it says when he grew up, this snake boy uh, drove out this particular king who had usurped the throne from Cranaeus 12 years earlier and became the king of Athens. Who did he marry? He married a female spirit. This particular female spirit, and they had a son, and Athena frequently protected her. So yeah, she was a adoptive mom, which a lot of people don't talk about that part. Oh gosh. Um, he founded the Panathenaic Festival. I'm sure I'm butchering these words and I'm sorry. I'll put all this information in the description box, of course. In honor of Athena, and set up a wooden statue of her on the Acropolis. According to the uh, Perranian Chronicle, he taught his people to yoke horses and use them to pull chariots, to smelt silver, and to till the earth with a plow. So he was a good snake boy. Good snake boy king. Oh, and there's more, but I will put that in the description box, of course. And now, like with Ares, it says that with her, Athena was originally a Aegean goddess of the palace who presided over household crafts and protected the king. A single Mycenaean Greek inscription appears at Knossos in the Linear B tablets from the late Minoan era, Room of the Chariot tablets. These comprise the earliest Linear B archives anywhere. Um, yeah, and then it says here, Mycenaean fresco depicts two women extending their hands towards a central figure who is covered in an by an enormous figure-8 shield. This may depict the warrior goddess with her palladium or her palladium in an aniconic representation. In the procession fresco at Knossos, which was reconstructed by the Messenians, two rows of figures carrying vessels seem to meet in front of a central figure, which is probably the Minoan precursor to Athena. Now, they are also saying, like it says here, the early 20th century scholar Martin Person Nilsson argued that the Minoan snake goddess figurines are early representations of Athena, and I would probably agree with that. There's a lot of people who want to say that those snake god, the Minoan snake goddess figurines are um representations of different things. I even saw when I did that vampire video, and I was doing my research. One of the demons, oh shoot, I think it was Lysica. I know that's not the right one, but the one where I said that that particular demon was probably an excuse or trying to explain away miscarriages. Okay. I saw where they were trying to say that that one was uh represented of the Minoan snake goddess. But I don't see how. I mean, I didn't see where anything had to do with snakes concerning that. I don't know. But with her, because snakes are part of her symbolism, you know, an animal that is for her, it makes more sense. And so I and yeah, but so anyway, in closing, no, well, yeah, in closing, before I start rambling on too much, yeah. So in closing, one thing I do want to say about uh Athena is there is this fictional character, Bradamante, and I was seeing where a lot of people wanted to connect Athena with Bradamante, as well as Joan of Arc. Now, Joan of Arc, I understand. This is a fictional knight with two epic poems, okay, that was around the Renaissance era, okay, and one thing about her is that she is basically a Bradamante is a female Christian knight in the service of Charlemagne, and she wears white armor. At one point, she cuts her hair to look like a boy, and but here's what she's so again, she fights in war and all of this. So I get the war side of it, but the problem is that Athena is a virgin goddess, and they were trying to show that she was not about men at all, and it's like, no, she was ready to jump into someone's pants. I mean, she was defying everybody to be with this guy. Okay. And so I'm not sure why they were connecting Athena with this particular. I mean, Bradamante is a great epic poem. If you've never read it, I will put information in the description box and everything. She is still popular today, and it's a great story. And and everything. And I do see the connection with Joan of Arc because, of course, being a female knight, female Christian knight, and wearing the white for purity and all of that. I just don't see the connection with Athena and everything, but because they're trying to say, well, she doesn't need a man, and it's like that's exactly what she. So, but anyway, with these two siblings, and of course they have other siblings as well, but these two have a connection because, of course, with the war and everything, they're the two main ones. I really wanted to emphasize the fact that with Aries, everybody wants to name something Aries, and especially with Tron Aries. Well, the hatred is kind of like history repeating, you know, the hatred of that movie. Look, if you like the movie, that's great. Okay, I love the first two movies, and I really haven't seen this one. Like I said, there really wasn't anything that told me to see it. Okay, and so I'm not hating on Tron Ares. I'm just saying what I saw. Okay, I want you to, and I can poke fun at Jared Leto. He can take it. He's not like Ares, okay, where he runs and tells his dad. But I mainly did this to show that Ares, naming your stuff after Ares, probably, God of War, yeah, that's a title, but you should look at the backstory. Yeah, probably a good idea. Maybe you should start naming it Sekhmet. We saw Sekhmet in the other video that I did. It's like, we need to stop her. And of course, Athena is more the aggressive one, and especially in the Iliad and the Odyssey. And like I said, I think Homer was trying to make a point that, maybe it would be nice if Ares was more like this. He's got that God of War thing going on, but not much else. Anyway, I'll close up here.